Good evening. The hour having arrived, declare the Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 in session. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast live and taped by NCM. We'll begin tonight's meeting with a pledge of allegiance to the flag and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First matter is some housekeeping. Warrants were reviewed and approved by Mr. Donnelly. If there's no questions on those, we'll file them. Hearing none, we'll move on to number 2. Meeting minutes for approval from the Selectmen's meeting of March 14th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Now we're going to move into appointments that we have this evening. We have a new responsibility. State law has been changed having to do with the membership of the Housing Authority. Now one of the members will be a tenant of the Housing Authority, and that tenant board member will be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So this is a first for us, first time this evening. We had a number of applicants, 15 from conventional housing and some from rental assistance programs, but the conventional housing candidates get a preference, so we reviewed those applications, and we've narrowed it down to 4 to interview this evening. The first candidate is with us this evening, Christine Diaz. Welcome.
Thank you.
Christine lives at Adams Street, the Laurelwood Terrace Housing Development. I guess I'll start by asking you, how long have you been a tenant there, Christine?
I've been a tenant there since May 15th of 2017.
Okay, and can you maybe give us a little explanation as to why you're interested in this position and what particular qualities you might be able to bring to the board?
I'm a very good listener. I like to listen to all sides of situations. I think that, all town boards, if possible, should have a disabled person on it just for equity and inclusion. And, yeah.
Okay. Anyone, Ms. Grell, question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what do you think is one of the most pressing issues right now, in general?
Well, coming from my standpoint, I don't know if this is a state law or a town law, but I know when I was going for housing back in 2017 and before, I was told that it's in elderly housing that they put the disabled people, but it's only 15%. And I think that that should be a little bit more than that, because I had a very long wait. When I applied in 2011 after my mom passed away, I was told it would be 5 to 7 years. It was 5 years and 11 months. And the only reason it was 11 months was because I went under emergency, and then because my sisters had moved and we had sold our house, our family house, and I had to stay couch surf with a friend and get a post office box from the all of the above. Mm-hmm. And then with the help of a good friend in town, who probably you all know, Kevin Conley. Mm-hmm. He's also in housing, but he helped me because we knew each other from school. And he knew that I was trying to get housing, so he helped me a lot. And trust me, when I finally got my place, I was ecstatic, and moved in. And it's great for me because I am legally blind. I now travel with a guide dog, and it's in walking distance of everything. I can get on the train. I can go into Boston. I can walk down to Shaw's. Go to Nord Pharmacy. I can get everywhere I need to go within walking distance. So it's a great location. But, knowing that it was a 3 to 5 year wait, and knowing that it's only 15% was kind of a hard pill to swallow at the time.
Yeah.
Just for a clarification, you asked you to know if it was a town or housing authority or whose rule it is. It's a state rule, it's a state law.
Okay,
So you could advocate
yeah,
and get the rest of the board at the housing authority to support you and advocate for a change in that law, but that is at the state level.
yeah.
And what it is it's a 15% cap on people under the age of 60,
Right,
65,
Huh.
60.
Yeah.
But there's no cap on 15%.
right,
15%, if you are of age, there's no cap.
yeah,
It's only for the underage.
right,
That
right,
is the
right,
cap.
yeah.
But nice battle for you to decide to fight.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we just asked, what do you think are some of the most important responsibilities of the housing authority?
I think the most important responsibilities of the housing authority is to, provide housing for all people who need it, whether it be families, single parents, or disabled people as well as seniors. And I know those are all different programs, but, whether it be like Section 8 or whatever, and, for it to be clean, kept up, and, if needed, made accessible. Whether it's senior housing or not, I think all buildings should be made accessible. I'm pretty sure most of them are, but, and I haven't toured all of them, but that's, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe I could follow up on that one, just the opposite, and knowing what the responsibilities of a board member are. Probably more so for a tenant member, there are some tasks or activities of the Housing Authority Board that as a tenant board member you would not be able to participate in. Do you know what a few of those are, might be?
No, I don't.
Okay. Can't think of what they might be?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
How about budgets? They have several different budgets at the Housing Authority. They have a separate budget for every program they administer. Have you had any, been involved in any activities over the years, other than the personal budget, doing budgeting?
No, I just have my own budget that I keep track of. I don't
Mhm.
keep track of any other budgets for any
Okay.
other programs that are groups that I belong to.
Sure.
But
What other groups?
I'm not an accountant, but,
What other groups you belong to?
I belong to the Cambridge chapter of the National Federation of the Blind. I belong to the Bay State Council of the American Council of the Blind. I belong to the Rentham Lions. I belong to the Handicap Commission here in Norwood.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much for your interest and for answering our questions. We have a few more people to interview, and then we'll be making a choice and getting in touch with you with the results.
All right, thank you so much.
Appreciate you
Thank
coming in very
you.
much.
Thank you. Okay.
Blue is ready to go to work.
Nice to meet you, thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.
Yeah, thank you. Have a
Take
great
care.
night.
Goodbye, Blue.
That's the right way to take her.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr. Mizuko, can you look on the hall, see if our other appointments might be present? No one.
He's got 5
Okay.
minutes.
Well, let's start with, yeah, I actually have a couple of minutes anyhow. So let's see if we can get a few items of new business process while we are waiting. Public hearing needs to be set for the application of ILC Ventures, Inc., LLC, excuse me, oh no, this is the public hearing.
Yeah,
That
that's
doesn't
the
start
hearing.
until 7
Yeah.
o'clock, excuse me. This new format confuses me. Mr. Coyce? Oh, yes. Come on in and, excuse me, come in and sit down. No, right at the table here. We'll jump right into it. We're a little early, but since you're here,
Yeah, I have a couple minutes early.
appreciate that.
That's fine.
So, we have a new task. First time we've been given responsibility of appointing members to the Housing Authority. And we received a number of applications. We whittled that down to a few to be interviewed tonight. You know, one of those gentlemen or one of those applicants. And you are a tenant at Willowwood Terrace. How long have you been a tenant there?
How long have I been? I'm sorry.
How long have you been a tenant at Willowwood?
I think about 3 years.
Okay. And can you just give us a general explanation of why you applied, why you're interested, why you'd like to take on this duty?
I'll give you the best explanation I can. Basically, I got, the application appeared on my desk or whatever, and I'm not sure how that happened, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. And I called a friend over at Shine Circle and said, yeah, I got this application. I was thinking of filling it out, you know. And she, oh, that's great, yeah, you know, do it. And I did it. And I kind of, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, you know, I wonder what exactly this entails. And finally, I get, you know, the thing we should think of immediately, I guess. Oh, let me check the internet and see what, talking about this kind of position. And I look at it, and this was like 24 to 48 hours ago. I go, oh my God, that's not for me. I mean, when this piece of paper came, I thought I was working pretty closely with Pam over at Shine and doing things at Willowwood, you know. And I thought, oh, well, you know, they want someone at Willowwood to kind of manage these little bingo games and stuff like that we play in the thing. And I thought, well, that's probably a good idea, because it was clear to me that, you know, that there was not enough going on in terms of plans for people and stuff like that, and people weren't showing up, and you know, I thought, well, I could probably help with that, you know, and you know, and I knew in the back of my head, I said, well, you know, I should check this out a little further before I take up anybody's time. And one thing came to another, and finally, the last couple of days, I got on the internet and I looked and I said, oh my God.
So what did you see on the internet that caused you pause?
Well, it sounded like, I mean, as I saw the position and what that's being done around the country, apparently, it made a lot of sense, because it seems to me certainly that there's a big gaping hole there in terms of organizing, managing, etc. But in terms of scope, it's probably way beyond my you know, my capabilities or whatever. I'd be happy to help someone, you know, on some level. I mean, I think it's a great idea and could be very helpful. And I think the recognition that there's a gap there and things aren't being taken care of is right on target. And I've worked with people, and you know, I enjoy it, and you know, as long as I thought it was focused on Willowwood, I thought, well, I can handle that because I don't have to walk far in the morning. And then when I realized it was for the whole organization, I thought, wait, that's beyond my capabilities.
Mrs. Donahue.
Thank you. Sir, I'll ask, you don't have to tell us if you don't want to. When you were working during your lifetime, what was your job?
When I was working where?
During your lifetime, what was your job?
Oh, a lot of them.
You have a nice.
I did a lot of small business stuff. I worked with a couple of newspapers, small, you know, in New York, in the Village, in San Francisco, in Milwaukee. I had a bookstore. I had a coffee house.
Was that all in New York?
No, the coffee house and bookstore were in Milwaukee. I did a newspaper in Milwaukee, and we had a little thing going and got several things. It was part of the 60s, actually.
From the way that you're talking, when you first started to talk, I could tell that you've been around.
I've done a few things. And I was in, and then I set up a computer company in New York and Manhattan, and it ended up in the bosom of Konica Minolta. You know, I was lucky because I was able to contact IBM and get a couple of the very first computers that came out. And so I felt I was ahead of the curve, and I set up this little company. I knew some people who needed help, and it grew, and we got taken over by a company in California, and then the big company got taken over by a Japanese company.
Wow.
And at the time it got taken over, I was in the hospital with heart problems, with bypass operation.
How did you end up in Norwood?
No, this was before
I know,
Norwood.
but how did you end up in Norwood now?
I had friends here, and I wanted to get to New York, and I did, and I spent a lot of time there. And then after my bypass operation, I realized life was going to change, and I had a special deal on a place in Inwood that I was living in, but I was losing that deal because it was a soldier who was, you know, he had a contract or whatever with the apartment, but he had to serve his time, and so he arranged for me to take it over. But then when that dropped, everything else was kind of out of my category anymore, you know, because I wasn't working, and the takeover, I had anticipated that I would have a job with that, but they weren't going to bring over. I was on a leave of absence because of the heart thing, and they said, well, that then excluded me from being brought in with the company. And so then, you know, I had friends up here, and I always liked Boston, so. And I love Norwood now.
That's great, welcome.
Thank you. Because of that, I walk 30 miles a week, and you know, so I've seen Norwood a lot. I've seen every house here several times. It's a beautiful town. And I've lived in so many places, I mean, West Coast, East Coast, Middle West, that this is a nice place to be. And I had friends here and still have friends here. And
How do you like South Norwood? How do you like South Norwood?
South Norwood? Where exactly? I mean, it's obviously south.
Washington Street heading toward Walpole.
Yeah, well, that's where you get to Bird Park that way, don't you?
That's
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Yes, I
Can't
love
get
Bird
to
Park.
without going through South
I
Carolina.
walk there regularly. I was there last week. A little ahead of the season, but some of the ducks were already there. They're there, so that was fine.
So let me ask you a direct question.
Sure.
You seem to have had a lot of experience. You seem to have a background where you could be an effective board member.
Yeah.
But you sound like in the research you did, maybe this time in your life, the way you started talking at the beginning, you just don't want that right now?
Well, I'd be interested. I mean, the reason I was interested when I first got the notice, I thought, well, you know, this is something I can maybe help with. And I mean, I recognized it as a problem, and in terms of Willowwood, and I thought, well, that's good, and I should step up and help. And I called my friend over at the other place and said I was thinking of putting in this application. She said, oh, great, you put it in. And I said, thanks. And so yeah, if there was something I could. I mean, I thought, when I realized after reading the internet, I thought, well, I probably could help someone who was doing it, you know, is kind of, I don't know, a backup or an assistant or something. But I thought it was probably beyond my.
It's not.
It's not?
It's not beyond your capacity, no.
How many people are we talking about?
Well, it's not the size of the, it's just your input. And you've had a lot of input in a lot of things.
Well, yeah, I've been around,
Right.
around here and there.
This is a good thing.
It's adopt-
Well, if you think that, I, you know,
It's adopting policies, it's overseeing the executive director and carrying out the responsibilities for the housing authority. It's advocating for housing for moderate income individuals in town
yeah.
and around the state, actually.
Like I say, if you think I could make a shot and do something and you're gonna cover my back.
You're on your own
So
after
when
you
I
leave
don't
this
know
room.
what's going on, I call someone and say, hey, what do I do here? I mean, this is for the entire program in Norwood, right?
Yes.
All five?
And rental assistance as well,
Oh,
not
good,
simply
good.
the conventional
Throw
housing.
in some more.
But it's good, some people don't even know there's others,
Yeah.
other sites you do. Any other questions?
I always like to hear, what do you think is something that's of concern when it comes to housing? Because, in this role, you'd be able to advocate. So what's something that you think you'd want to advocate for?
Well, I haven't thought that far. I mean, it's, there's, communication seems to be a real big problem. I mean, internally and it just, people don't feel like they belong, are part of a group or, I mean, we do these little bingo games and stuff like that. And, Pam does a good job of promoting it and getting everybody a piece of paper, and then we get 5 people who show up, and that's sad. I mean, it's my impression is we've got a lot of people who are kind of sitting in their room watching TV, and that's about as far as it goes, and any sense of belonging and being able to work with other people and create something a little bit better. There isn't much of that. I mean, I don't know if they've given up. I don't know if they simply haven't been motivated properly, or what the case may be, or challenged in some way, or But yeah, I think it's one reason I got excited about the paper is the piece of paper that I signed was this is needed. This is something that needs to be done.
Very good.
And my thought was, well, if I can help some people do it. My thought was never, oh, can I go out there? But yeah, it's that's why I signed up. I thought maybe if there's something good happening here, I'm more than happy to help or do whatever I can.
All right, Mr. Lane.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming in, John. You seem like a good communicator. And
Well,
I think
it's
that's
a short walk.
yeah, but I mean, I think that's a big part of it. So
Yeah.
don't sell yourself short in your.
Well, that's what I thought, and that's
Yeah.
why I called Pam when I saw the note, and she, oh yeah, go for it, and I'm sure she didn't understand what the full thing was either, but.
We appreciate it.
But I worked with her in terms of Willowwood and the stuff she does there, and helped her with the little games things, tried to give her some ideas and stuff like that. And,
That's great. Thank you for coming in. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. We have a couple more interviews, and then we'll be making an appointment, and we'll be getting in touch with you.
Okay,
You're still interested, you're not withdrawing, right?
I what?
You're not withdrawing, you're still going to be interested.
Well, if you or if you're dragging me into the water. I mean, it's like I say, the idea I think is great,
All right,
Right.
or the focus, it's important.
very good.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Nice to meet you.
We'll see you walking around.
Bye now.
We should put him on the Trails Committee.
So next,
Good idea.
the next gentleman out there. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name.
Hello.
Thank you. Stevie, we should get you.
I'm gonna check the hallway just a second.
No, no one's in the hall? What's my schedule, is the time come?
Yeah.
Okay. So, one applicant has not arrived yet, and we haven't heard from. The other fourth candidate I handed out earlier at your places, a few questions she was asked. She notified us she was having a medical procedure today and wouldn't be able to attend tonight. So I had sent out a few questions that the candidates might be asked this evening in the letter inviting them in. And so I asked her to at least answer those questions so we'd have some input from her. And that's what I left on your places today. She also, like some of the other applicants, comes with a strong recommendation from the Housing Authority themselves that she might be a candidate to contribute. So with the gentleman not arriving, unfortunately, we're up against a little bit of a time crunch here, and that they wanted this appointment made within 30 days. When I say they, the state, their new set of regulations. So it's the wish of the board. Moving forward here. Someone want to nominate someone for appointment or come up with another course of action here this evening?
I'm willing to make a nomination.
All right, Mr. Donnelly?
If that's appropriate. I will nominate Christine Diaz for the position, lieutenant position on the Norwood Housing Authority.
All right. And
I'll second.
second, any other nominations? All right, well.
I was actually going to nominate Santos, but I do like the first nomination, but I did want to put forward Santos, and I don't know if you want me to go into my reasoning or not. One of my reasonings would be their length of experience. They sort of have seen the whole life cycle of housing from, young to their current age. And I think there's value in that because I think that means that they've seen it sort of over time, and that could be valuable. So that would be one name that I would put forward.
Second that?
I can second that.
Okay. Anything further?
Another matter, I'd like to also thank the other people who applied.
Absolutely.
Especially
Yeah.
Wayne Lanier, who put his whole heart into it, and other people. Thank you very, very much for applying. This is a hard choice.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very hard for us to narrow it down, especially we had 15 applicants of the conventional housing and more after that. There were people housed in the rental assistance program, so there was a lot of interest. I think what we say is 27 altogether that had applied. So it's nice to see that kind of interest. So I guess we have 2 nominees. And
What is the deadline?
we really have to vote now because they need it in 30 days, which is the end of this month. It's actually, I think it might technically be today.
Yeah, actually,
It's the end of the month.
yeah, end of this month. Yeah.
We have Diaz and Santos. Well, I guess I'll poll the board, see how you want to vote. Ms. Donahue?
Well, because she was here and answered all the questions, Diaz.
Mr. Lane?
Ms. Diaz.
Mr. Donnelly?
Ms. Diaz.
Ms. Grill?
Santos.
Santos. And the chair votes Santos. So, 3-2. Ms. Christine Diaz has been appointed. We'll notify the clerk, the Housing Authority, and of course, Ms. Diaz. Thank you, everybody, for your attention to that matter. That's the first time we've had to deal with it. Hopefully, next time, it will be, come along in a manner that we have more notice. We don't have that short time frame to deal with things. And let's move on to our other business. New business, town common request, Boy Scouts Ice Cream Social. They'd like to use the town common on Sunday, June 11th of this year at 2 p.m. with a rain date for June 13th and 7 p.m. Do you know if that's 2 to 7, or is it one starts at 2 and the other starts at 7? The way it's written here, I'm not sure.
My apologies, the rain date would start at 7, but the actual date that they want will start at 2.
And I'm sorry, I didn't look at that application close. So look, how many hours are they looking for?
I believe it's 3.
Wish of the board. I know when that email first came in, request was originally by email, and I did send them a recommendation that they, to not waste time, contact the Board of Health about the issue of serving the ice cream, because that's something that might be managed and controlled by the Board of Health. But what's the pleasure of the board in general on the use of the common for this purpose on these dates and times?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second, conditioned with any requirements the Board of Health might have. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. One-day request for liquor from decanted wine trucks. They're going to be working at a private function on private property, but because they will be serving, even though I think they have a state license, they still need a town one day to be able to come in and work at this function. Will be at 83 Moore Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? We have a one-day liquor license request for the Norwood Portuguese Club, be held on April 15th, 23, at 6 PM to 11:30 PM. And the party will be held from 6 PM until, what, it's the same thing, okay. Any, is this two different dates?
Two different dates.
I'm sorry, that's why I'm confused.
Right. The
The
8th,
15th
and
and
the
the 22nd, both
right.
from 6 PM, one to 11, first one to 11:30, and the other one until 11 o'clock.
motion to approve,
Approve both?
right, motion to
Second.
approve.
Second for both, Ms. Grell? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Common victual application, Jersey Mike Subs, submitting an application for location of 1415 Boston Providence Highway. Want to be open 7 days a week from 10 AM until 9 PM.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any second, anything further on that? All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? Permanent Building Construction Committee discussion. I know, I don't know if anyone's brought in any
Mr. Chair?
comment.
I think we have one more,
Friendlies?
4.5, the application for friendlies.
Oh, yes, thank you very kindly. Common victuals license application for Friendly's Ice Cream. They're submitting an application. It's going to be a new owner at 1469 Boston Providence Highway, open 7 days a week, 8 AM to 11 PM. And the same restaurant, same name, just changing ownership.
Motion to approve,
Second by Ms. Lane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. Permanent Building Construction Committee. I don't know if any other members came in with any comments or suggestions. I know at the last meeting, I suggested that, thanked Mr. Hopcroft for his letter that told us we should be getting something done one way or the other with the status of the Permanent Building Construction Committee, which we agreed with. And I agreed with, in general, his third point, which is basically to delete the bylaw that sets up the Permanent Building Construction Committee and explain or define clearly the responsibilities under the Facilities Department. Unfortunately, I've had a bit of a turmoil the last week and a half actually, and didn't quite get to it. I've got a draft at home, but didn't finish it. But I was working on a bylaw along the lines of deleting that bylaw and inserting into place an explanation that's the Facilities Department, and also what the additional input and obligations would be from other parties, like the clients, if you will. If they were doing something at the library, then, what input they would have, and so on and so forth, and have that all clearly defined in the bylaw, but that the facilities department themselves would be responsible for all the work from schematic design to final construction. In between, again, the clients would certainly be involved in the design phase, at least up to the schematic, so that you know what you're building is what they have said they need and want, and the town's going to be considering funding. The same as our current bylaw, any proposal would have to go to the facilities department, and they would evaluate it and see if it, how large of a job it was, if it was affected by certain section of Chapter 149, for example, requires the town to hire a owner's project manager at a certain stage. Today, it's currently $1.5 million, but that might change over time. And they would determine if that's necessary. And if so, they would work with the owner's project manager and, again, the client to get the project that we need. That's my thought. I haven't finalized it, I'm afraid. I apologize, but could certainly get it by our next meeting. We have a couple of weeks now for that meeting.
Yeah, I would, I'm sort of divided between the second and the third option. I think what you described, Mr. Chair, about the motion at town meeting, I think it would be, at least in my opinion, beneficial for us to see the motion,
Oh,
actual
absolutely,
motion.
yeah.
So I'm wondering whether or not it's more appropriate for us to authorize you to draft the specifics of the article and bring it back to us for
Sure,
formal
if that's a general
consideration.
guideline people think they're comfortable with, I'll do that, and even get it out to you so you have it in advance to review. So you can prepare any comments or edits or suggestions. Mr. Lang?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I was leaning towards the second and third options as well. So if this were repealed, as the language Mr. Hopcroft used, would that be debated on town meeting
Oh,
floor?
absolutely.
Right, so we're just putting that
Any
forward. So
Any general bylaw change will have to
it does
be-
not mean that it's, right.
No, our action is not final, it's just what we would be suggesting.
Yeah, then I would be in agreement with Mr. Donnelly that the draft language would be good.
All right, so the motion at this time is to continue with the chairman drafting language for a possible general bylaw change. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Economic Development Committee appointments have been forwarded, reminding us that their time to be reappointment is upon us. Member Alan Slater would be interested in reappointment. Another member whose term is up at this time is Mr. Scott Murphy, who after his years of service on the committee has got a lot else going on in his life and is stepping down. The committee did think about candidates that might be very valuable to the committee and came up with the name of Mr. Thornton, and checked with Mr. Thornton, and he would be amenable and interested in serving. Of course, it's up to the board whether they want to accept that recommendation or do otherwise.
Move to reappoint Mr. Slater and to appoint Mr. Thornton.
Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Grow. Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Board of Assessors reappointment. Mr. McDonough, Timothy McDonough is up for reappointment.
Move to reappoint.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Donnelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Letters of support for additional school aid. Mr. Donnelly, you were kind of taking the lead on that. Do you want to discuss that?
Okay, so in the package this evening are three letters relating to a bill at the legislature, Senate Bill 298. We were contacted recently by the chairman of the Select Board of Groton, Massachusetts, and Groton, like us, is undergoing a school construction project. Groton has taken the initiative to contact some 20 communities that are now in approval processes for school buildings, advocating for S298 an act relative to increased material costs in school construction projects. Essentially, Groton Lake Norwood has a school building project where we approved the project at a $150 million cost. And since the presentation of the voter override and other information regarding the project, we have seen a great escalation in costs, which that escalation is borne by the town through the process of value engineering or basically cutting the budget. The grant from the state school building authority doesn't change. So what this act does, and this is our letter to the governor, as well as Senator Rush and Representative Rogers, who's actually a sponsor of the bill. What this bill would do would be to utilize the $150 million the state now has in ARPA, federal money, and dedicate that $150 million to school construction projects around the Commonwealth. Those school construction projects that are having to do some pretty dramatic cuts to their building because of the unprecedented escalation of costs and materials for construction. So one letter is a letter from the chairman of our board as well as the chair of our school committee to Governor Healy asking for the governor's support of S-298. A second letter is to Senator Rush, likewise to request that he support it and hopefully even co-sponsor the bill. And the third letter is a very brief letter. This is to Representative Rogers, who is a co-sponsor of the bill, and that third letter would be one where we would be thanking the representative for his co-sponsorship of S-298. All letters would be from both the Board of Selectmen and the school committee.
And I did reach out to both Rogers and Senator Rush's offices just so that they would know that we would be reaching out soon, particularly to let them know that, Selectman not only been serving around the middle school committee, he's obviously going to have a lot of good details to sort of explain how it's impacting us here at this level. So we thought that would be valuable. And Representative Rogers' office, they confirmed already that they're supporters of this, so we just want to be sure to thank them for that. So.
It's good news, yep. Get all the help we can get.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is just asking for help. We don't know we're going to get it, but let's ask.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the pleasure of the board to authorize and direct the chair to sign these
So moved.
letters.
Second.
Made by Ms. Donahue, second by Ms. Grill. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Darnley.
Now, Mass Dot grant assurances for approval of the board. This is this the one we already did, the airport? No, this is a different one. This one pertains to $1,459, which is part of $29,184.99 project for relocating runway 10 precision approach path equipment to accommodate the taxiway C relocation project that we did discuss at the last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Lane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Cemetery deeds for approval and signature,
Move to sign.
seconded by Ms. Grow, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Annual town meeting warrant, been presented. Any comments on that, Mr. Mizuko? We ready to sign?
For the annual town warrant, yes, the special will be coming before you at your next meeting, which contains a lot of the end of the year transfers, possibly a few citizens petitions, and zoning items as well. So the annual, we've been trying the last several years to just keep really the budget and CPA.
Move to sign.
I'll accept that motion, second by Ms. Grill, but may I just point out that the next item is special town meeting articles. And I'm going to ask the board to approve putting those on the special town meeting warrant. They were actually originally drafted to go on the annual, and they were parties sponsoring them, Ms. Howard in particular, was gathering the signatures. but I advised her not to if she agreed that we put it on the special instead of tying up the annual with rezoning issues. And the only times in the past that I can recall, and I've been one who's made the motion actually, have not accepted petitions is if they were clearly in proper form. These seem to be in proper form, so I just want people to know when we get to that next item that you'll see on the copies you have in your packet, there's pages for signatures and why there are not any, hoping you're going to approve those going on the special town meeting warrant. So on the annual, any comments? If none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of signing that document? All in favor, opposed?
Aye.
Unanimous. Now, the special town meeting articles I was just talking about, there are 3 of them. They all have to do with different portions of property that are currently zoned for the Boston Providence Highway District to be changed to some different, in each district, a little different residential districts. And they are all easily identified as on either side of Route 1 near the Pendergast Circle, north side of the Pendergast Circle. So can I have a motion to accept placing those articles on the special town meeting warrant, a petition of Judith Howard, and forwarding those same articles to the planning board?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Donnelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, thank you very much.
One note
Yes.
relating to town meeting. I did briefly speak with Congressman Lynch, and he expressed a little interest in maybe making it to the annual town meeting, so I'm going to reach out to his office, so he may pay us a visit.
All right, that he should be clearing and going through the moderator.
Yep.
He has in the past, but
Yeah.
we wouldn't technically have a say in that.
Correct.
Fiscal year '24 general government, sewer, water, and facilities. We had a presentation on the budget. We didn't actually take a final vote on it, if for no other reason than we knew that the water, sewer, and facilities weren't complete at that time. You've received copies since then. Are there any questions on that, or any part of those items, the general budget?
Do
Water,
we have them
sewer, or
available for
facilities?
display?
Huh?
Do we have I don't have mine with me. Is it possible to bring the facilities one up on the screen?
It is, you'd have to give me a few minutes.
That's okay. That's all right. My recollection was that, that the overall impact on facilities was less than 2%, but that's, part of that is because we're shifting some of the budget charging to the enterprise fund, if I recall.
Correct. If you take out the utility cost increases, facilities is up under 2%. There's no head count change. So other than the increase in gas, electric, it's really just a very minor increase. So they've been doing great. We think in the next few years, we might actually be able to not necessarily reduce some of the budget lines in facilities because we're happy with where the facilities department is going, but we're starting to see the savings of doing more work in-house. We haven't seen some of the disaster problems that we've had in the past. Not only are we doing projects in-house, but we're now doing mostly preventative maintenance. We've been able to get our electricians and our plumbers and our contracts lined up to make sure that we're doing PMs of all of our systems and all of our buildings, and we're seeing that. The facilities budget will probably be able to turn back a fair amount of money this year, which is a good thing. Now, I say knock on wood, you can have one building-related issue that costs a lot of money, but what we're seeing is the investment that we've made is starting to pay dividends, and we're pleased with that.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to have that kind of analysis done by somebody in your office and come here and present it. I think that'd be good for the public.
Sure.
So, can we have a motion to approve the budgets as were reviewed, including the water and sewer and facilities?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Lane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Is our guest here? No?
Martha Cole Maria?
Not yet.
Oh, she said?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay, we'll wait a couple of minutes. So we have items for, 5 items, is it, on the memorandum? If there's no further questions on those, so accept the motion to file.
I only had one question, if I
So,
may.
go right ahead.
Do we know on the flower beds, the nature of the plants that are putting in? Is it just rotating annuals, or is it
Yeah.
replacing?
It's their regular work, they just make sure the board's aware before they're doing anything on the common. And when people inevitably see more of a notice anything that the common's being dug up, we're not getting rid of flowers or bushes or anything, it's just annual work on the common.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to file 1 through 5 on the memorandum.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Donnelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Mr. Manager,
Just a couple of items I want to brief the board on. We purchased 2 properties at town meeting last year. We had taken possession of one of them several weeks ago. The other one we will close on and take possession of probably this week. There was just some work on the back end that had to be done, but we expect to have both of those under our lock and key by the end of this week, one of them already being under our lock and key. And we're going through the process of preparing to identify what needs to be remediated and then what the tear down and demo process would be. With the budget process nearing completion, we are scheduling our town meeting information sessions. We've already gotten some preliminary information out to town meeting members. This year, after speaking with the moderator and working with her, we're gonna combine the municipal finance and town meeting 101 that we normally do on sort of separate nights at different times into, call it one presentation. We're gonna try to add a land use 101 presentation into that. We've talked internally about trying to move our land use primarily to being in March to align with a timeline where we know that the planning board can set up their hearings. But we might test this one this year so that way town meeting members, particularly new town meeting members, can just get a short overview of what land use is and what the different land use boards do, especially with zoning always seeming to come forward at every town meeting, even though we wanted to try to do as much of it in the, call it a late or early spring town meeting sometime in March, to kind of consolidate what we're doing for information and let everyone sort of get in the focus of zoning and to prevent the 5 or 6 night town meetings that sometimes tend to upset people. So we're looking for the 3 of those all together. We still need to set a location, but that'll likely be on Thursday, April 13th. And then 2 weeks later, the 24th, 26th, and 27th, we'll be doing our information sessions when we do a budget overview, review the town budget, the school budget, and then a special town meeting warrant. Those will all be recorded, they'll all be rebroadcast, and there'll be a hybrid option for all of them. So we're looking forward to that. In particular, our town meeting, municipal finance, and land use 101. We're gonna see if we can consolidate it into one. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
questions or comments on any of that for the manager? All right, I guess still not, hasn't arrived?
I don't believe so. Let me double check. No, not as yet.
All right, we can't start the public hearing early, so we have about 5 minutes. I guess we'll move to selectmen's agendas. Ms. Grau?
If it's okay with the rest of the board, maybe we'd be okay going in a different order. I think mine might be a little long, and
That's why I'm going to you. Do you think it's more than 5 minutes?
depends on if anybody has questions.
We won't ask questions.
Okay, if everybody agrees to ask no questions, I'll dive in.
Or we'll hold the questions,
Yeah.
how's that?
Yeah, that'd be fine. So I just thought it would be helpful for us to give an update on how the search committee is going for the new fire chief. So I just wanted to sort of go over where we are. Right now, we have our search panel. As a reminder, the composition of that panel is members of the Board of Selectmen, Personnel Board, Finance Commission, Regional Police and Fire Chiefs. We actually have 2 fire chiefs now. And then we additionally are using an assessment center, and the assessment center also has comprised of longtime fire chiefs as well from the region, and then also supported by our HR director. So we've got a really good panel. We've met 3 times so far just to sort of go over the types of questions and processing that we would be doing to assess the candidates. Right now, we've identified several viable ones, which is great. And then our next steps are going to be interviewing candidates by the search committee, and then we're going to be testing them through the assessment center. And then the assessment center itself, what we're going to do is we're going to be utilizing the John Perro Consulting and Associates, and they're going to be using subject matter experts, fire service. Like I said, we have multiple fire chiefs involved with this. They're going to be able to test on fire and emergency management skills, but also we're going to be looking at administrative skills, because that'll be a big factor for a role like this. We're also going to have, the assessment center is going to be reaching out to gather feedback from the firefighters to see sort of what are the qualities that we're looking for in a good chief. So that's also going to help us. Once they're through the assessment, when the candidates go through, we're actually going to be able to look at their scores to specifically see how each one performed in all the different areas that we'll be testing them on. And then the search committee, we're going to end up referring one or more candidates to the general manager, since he is the one that will do the appointment ultimately. And we'll have our next update on all of this at the next meeting, which will be the April 25th meeting.
Well, sounds like a pretty comprehensive process, broad range of input, and should result in a good selection, I would hope. And Mr. Donnelly, you're also on that committee. Anything you wanted to add?
No, the preparation's been good, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the panelists are all really engaged with the process, and you know, HR director is doing a nice job facilitating the process for us, Mr. Mizuko. So looking forward to the next steps.
Very good. Anything additional?
Only other thing from me is just putting in a plug that we are looking for an energy manager. So if you or someone you know out there is interested in helping us, deal with energy conservation and the sort of low to no carbon roadmap that we're trying to meet in the town, definitely reach out. We have the role posted, and happy to hear from folks.
This is a multi-town position?
Yes, this is a shared
What are the
resource.
What are the
So
other towns involved?
Sharon and
Walpole.
Yeah, Walpole's the third one. So it'd be but we are the host community essentially.
It is Walpole.
And they apply through the general manager?
Yes.
Or HR, where are they supposed to apply? Is it advertised?
It is advertised. We've got it up on the town site. See if I can find if it explicitly states.
Probably HR.
Yeah, probably HR. Actually, you know what? I was kind enough to get.
In case there is a candidate out there, I want to give them a heads up.
I actually have it handy. All right. Yeah, because there's actually, let's see here. So jobs@norwoodma.gov is the best email to reach out.
That's going to be
through.
through the HR department,
Yeah.
sure, which is what would expect it to be. Very good. So with that, we've delayed long enough to get to our first public hearing. Is out there, Angela? Is that the first one?
She's coming now, he said.
Oh, may I read the notice?
I would start with the hearing.
Alterations of premises. Could you read the public hearing notice, please?
Made to the licensing board of the town of Norwood for an alteration of premises and change of DBA for ILC Ventures, DBA Little Bird Fence, under section 12, chapter 138 and chapter 140 of Massachusetts general laws as amended for the sale of all alcoholic beverages to be drunk on the premises of 83 Moore Street, building number 4F, Norwood, Massachusetts. Description of the premises is as follows: 5,077 square feet on the ground floor, open event space with 2 glass rooms, 1 office, kitchen, and storage hallway. Public hearing on this application will be held on Tuesday, March 28th at 7 p.m. in the Harry V. Butters Chambers, room 34, Norwood Town Hall.
Very good, thank you. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening.
So you're expanding.
I am.
Need to change your premises on the license to make it all good and legal.
Yes, sir.
Did I hear anything about you changing your name?
I am. I've been there for 5 years now, and the business has evolved quite a bit. When I first opened, I was going to be a venue that did children's parties, and so now it's evolved to mostly adult parties with corporate events. So I just felt the need to rebrand with the expansion.
Okay, you haven't done that yet?
Not officially, no.
Okay. Anything further you want to say about your application before I ask members if they have questions?
No, I'm just really grateful to be where I am, and it's been well received to have the additional space. Post-COVID, people need more space to gather and do functions, and so we're mostly using it, would use it for 2 smaller events or to give one group more space to do what they need to do in there.
I looked in the window, looks pretty nice, who did the work?
My husband is my contractor. I don't recommend that, going that route, but we're still married.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any further questions, serious questions? Mr. Donnelly?
Mr. Lane, go
Mr. Lane,
Oh,
go right ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it's great that you were able to hang in there during what must have been a really hard time during COVID, and the fact that you're expanding, and I've seen the space, it's beautiful. I think it's really cool, really unique, and I'm really glad that you're staying in Norwood, and I just wish you the best of luck moving forward. And everything looks good on your application, so.
Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Mrs. Donahue?
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your help with the cultural festival for the 150th anniversary. You're a large part of the operation, and we appreciate all of your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
So
This is
I'll
a-
just
I'm
one
sorry.
comment, that's okay. So recently, one of the dancers from the Circle of Hope had a fundraiser there, and he was Mr. Lane. Oh,
That
it's
was
you.
me.
That's right.
That's
That's right. And yeah, we got to peek into the new space. It looks great.
Thank you.
Just compliments to your husband, the contractor,
Thank
in
you.
spite of what you just said about it.
All right, this is a public hearing. Does anyone else would like to be heard on this matter before us this evening?
I was going to add one thing. Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, sorry. In the night of the event that Mr. Donnelly was talking about, there was a lot going on there. I think there was our event in the Magic Room had a concert, and the brewery also had a band playing. But it really felt like all the parking worked well, and there were plenty of spaces. There was nobody that came late and said I couldn't find parking. So that was nice to see, because I don't think I had been there on a Saturday night when there was a lot of stuff in operation. So just adding that, I think the parking down there has done pretty
Working
well.
well.
Yeah, nobody parking on the street, on Moore Street, that sort of thing, so.
Mr. Donahue?
Thank you. In the future, I spoke with Mr. Mizuko about this today. I, had talked about using the electric light yard for town of Norwood parking. And Mr. Mizuko explained to me today that there'll be a delay because of the use of the site for the construction of the new middle school. But after the construction of the new middle school, that parking lot is going to be very important for the ball fields, up at Ending Farm, for the swimming pool in the summer, and for the Space Center. So I'm not gonna be around, so you folks remember that. As soon as they finish up the.
Take a note.
As soon as they finish up the job, please make sure that we get that for parking, okay?
It's a good idea.
Your responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to close the hearing would be accepted.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous.
Motion to approve.
Seconded by Mr. Lane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you
Good
very
luck.
much. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
She's here, Martha's here.
Want to ask Mrs. Colin Moran to come in and join us? Good evening. Make yourself comfortable. There they are, okay. Good evening. How are you? The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. And good evening. I've come tonight as a representative of the residents of Norwood to speak about a friend. A friend is a chum, a confidant, a kind, helpful, and compassionate supporter. That best describes the service given by our Selectman, Helen. Helen is a walking diary of the history of Norwood and its residents. Mention any event in Norwood, and Helen was there helping, and she will instantly share an anecdote about it and give you the details and the highlights. We are very grateful to Helen for her dedication to the town and celebrating special anniversaries, just like her ancestors. A book entitled The Centennial History of Massachusetts Town, published in 1973, mentioned the dedication of the Neponset Street overpass, Route 95, to the late Selectman John A. Abdullah. We both taught at the Balt School, the best school in Norwood, and attended many events, including the dedication of the Balt Edition in memory of her father. Through the years, she has arranged transportation to the polls for anyone that would be unable to vote. And she continues to check on older residents to make sure their needs are met. Helen, continuing the long tradition of service to our community. Of all of her accomplishments, she will always be remembered for her efforts to have the Christmas decorations in South Norwood. When she asked for the lighting, she was told, "There are beautiful decorations now on the Common and uptown." Finally, there are beautiful Christmas lights in South Norwood too, thanks to her effort. As a 70-year resident of Norwood, I would like to express my appreciation to Helen for her dedicated service on the Board of Selectmen for so many years. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Colmaria.
Yeah,
Thank
that's,
you, Mr. Chairman.
stay right there,
Colmaria.
don't you run away yet.
Mrs. Colmaria,
That's very well said, thank you.
you're saying thank you to me, but I'm saying thank you to you. You represent the whole town. You're in your mid-90s. You taught in Boston. You taught in Norwood. You were asked by Tom McDonough to set up, when Norwood education started at the high school, night school started, you set up the program so that foreigners could learn English language. And you do your whole life. Currently, you serve with Mr. Bazzucco on the Rotary. You went to a convention for the Rotary this past year in Texas, was it? And you've been in Girl Scouts how many years? Girl Scouts, how many years have you been in Girl Scouts?
60, I'm gonna get my pin for 60 years.
In Girl Scouts.
Yeah, and I love it, yeah.
And you're still working too. So you chose to come to Norwood. You chose to have your beautiful family here. You've chose to become a fixture in the community. What I've done is nothing to compare to what you've done, but I appreciate your kindness from the bottom of my heart. And you being here brought something that hasn't happened for a long time. My sister Olga is here, who
Yes.
and she hasn't been able to get up here to this forum for a long time. And since my husband Paul retired from the planning board, my daughter Molly is here too. Molly Donahue Tomasco. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for
We
everything.
thank you, Ellen, for your dedication. I don't even know how many terms you've served, but
21 years. And Mr. Plasko compiles all these statistics. And so am I the fifth? Mr.
Yes.
So the longest was Harry Butters, who all of us knew. Then Walter Dempsey. Then Joe Curran?
No?
No, Lopey. Lopey Rich.
Lopey Rich.
Lopey Rich, who was like a brother to my father. And then Joe Curran.
No, yeah,
And then me.
yeah.
And, but I thought you were longer than me.
Oh, yeah, I'm in there too, yeah.
No, you should be number 5, I think.
Yeah.
Together.
Well, when I finish this term, I'll be the same as Lopey Rich. Mr. Butters and Mr. Dempsey have the same total number of years of service, although Mr. Butters were consecutive, quite impressive. Then Lopey Rich and I will be joining him.
So then I'll bounce to number 6.
Right.
I
No,
don't
no,
mind
no.
though.
It would be two in the same, well,
But
depends on
Miss-
whether you count terms of years of service or number of individuals.
But Mrs. Colmaria, you've more history. 1, 2, 3 of the living 5s. There's only Susan McQuaid and poor Mary Fox, who's gone. So we now have in the room 3 female selectmen.
well,
How about that?
I know you'll still be there helping when you're called on.
I'm trying to get on that committee about the master plan study committee. That's the committee to join, because it's going to help try and keep Norwood as a town, as opposed to a city, you know? But thank you for everything.
Well, we thank you on behalf of the residents. I speak for everyone, Helen.
Thank you very, very much.
I think it's possible that some of the people who are watching this meeting don't realize that Mrs. Donahue has served 21 years, as she said, and has decided not to seek re-election, so she's not on the ballot in next Monday's town election. So this is her last formal meeting, unless we have a special emergency meeting in her term. So your timing to come in and point out her service was perfect. And I'm sure we will all be joining with some words of our own soon. Thank you, appreciate it very much.
And thank you for coming, family. Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, now we have a public hearing. It's not actually a public hearing, but a posted hearing on two Hackney licenses. The first one from Mohammed Adam, is the gentleman here.
He is, I will grab him.
Good evening, have a seat, make yourself comfortable. Good evening. So you can move that over if you're more comfortable. That got pushed out of the way there. So the yes, Ms.
No. Could you ask Steve?
Yes.
Thanks.
The application that you submitted indicates you live in Norwood, but you'd like a public automobile or commonly referred to as a livery approval, basically so you can service customers that want to go to the airport in particular. So can you tell us some more about your business, how long you've been in business? Is this a startup or are you moving from one location to another?
I've been in business from 2014.
And where were you operating out of?
I was operating in Boston. I was working with, it's called Cruise America. It's a company that rents the RVs. And I used to work Lakeville area and Tingsboro and Northampton, New Hampshire.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. You work for those companies? Is this the first time you're working for yourself? Licensed by yourself? Or
No,
were you
no.
licensed previously?
From 2014,
You've been on your own?
I'm self-employed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The forms appear to be in order. I did ask, and you have submitted a copy of your registration. Want to make sure that if you're getting a license from the town of Norwood, we're getting your excise taxes.
Yeah.
And it appears to be so. You understand that there's fees for these licenses, correct? Have you seen our Hackney regulations and fee schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other members have questions? What would follow this up if we approve it is we would be approving the Hackney license, business license, and then it gets forwarded down to the police department that approves the vehicle and approves the driver. You're going to be the only driver? You're not going to have any other
The only
employees?
driver, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Lane, do you have a question?
No, actually.
I covered, I'm
yes.
sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Anything else? Pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Those licenses that need approval from the police department will be forwarded from there.
Yeah.
You can make contact with them, or maybe they'll contact you, and you can go down and finish up the business with them. Once it gets approved, it comes back here, you'll get approval from our office. I think the letter you'll need for state police at Logan, and basically your license, and collect the fees for the licenses, and you'll be off and running in business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The other gentleman here by chance?
I don't believe so.
No. What's the time scheduled? Well, yeah, he's got a few minutes to see if he's gonna arrive or not. So, this is, Miss Grow, did you have anything else?
I didn't know if we wanted to go into it yet. I just wanted to thank Selectman Donahue for her service.
Go right ahead. I would have waited until we didn't have this one in between, but let's go.
Yeah, no, this being the last meeting and all, I've been really grateful that I've been able to serve with you. Because that's, you can't predict, who you'll get to serve with necessarily, the way these things sort of ebb and flow, and I've been very fortunate to be able to serve with you. And just this last week, we were both at the Student Government Day, and you said something that I thought was very important to the students, which was you told them, if you've lived in Norwood for at least a year, then you have the right to call Norwood your home. And to me, when I think of Selectman Donahue, I think of home, because I only dream of being able to give that level of service to the Norwood community, so dedicated and just fully invested. And so I was really glad to hear you talk to the students about the fact that you make Norwood a community by participating, and I think that you've been the best example of that for them. So
Thank you.
I just really wanted to thank you for your service.
Thank you. From the moment that I met you years ago, when you were at the League of Women Voters, I knew that you'd be in town government. And thank you for choosing Norwood, and thank you for all of your help. And thank you for letting you and I create some history here. 2 women, the first time in 150 years. Good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it, Mr. Donnelly.
Selectman Donahue, I was listening to Mr. Plasko's description in your conversation with him about the longest-serving selectman in history, but although you are the 4th woman to be elected to Board of Selectmen, you will be the longest-serving woman to have served on the board. So
quite a while.
Yes, by quite a few years. And so congratulations on that. And you are the first woman to serve in the 21st century, Norwood's 21st century, since you were elected, I believe, in 2001? Mm-hmm. Okay. In addition to, I think one of the things I'll take from serving with you is not only your ability to remember the town's history and to put it in the right context so nicely at all our meetings. I also appreciate your advocacy, strong advocacy for the Norwood taxpayer and the ratepayer. You really should be given a lot of credit for that. And one of the things I will miss going forward is the dialogue that you have with the general manager regarding the annual water rates. That will be something I will miss entirely. But I wanted you to know that I have observed that, and I've learned a lot from you in my first year of being on the board. I wish you well, and I was very proud to have served with you, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly, and it's wonderful that you come from Moss Hill.
Yes.
And it's
We're in the
wonderful.
neighborhood.
You can look out all over South Norwood, but you took the seat of a person who worked as hard as you, David Hishaf, and you have worked as hard as him, or even more hard. You put in so much time with all of your committee work, all of your reports. You helped out with the knowledge of the MWRA. We'll keep them honest through you, and so many ways that you pick up a challenge. You work in the same intensity as he did, and on that school, middle school, and everything. But you're a pleasure to work with. Thank you, Mr. Donnelly, and thank you to the whole board for these beautiful, beautiful flowers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Donnelly?
No, that's, oh, for addenda items?
Yes.
Oh, just a couple of quick things. So, for our April the 25th, Mr. Mizuka has recently appointed me to the Stormwater Utility Committee, and I've attended a couple of meetings. The committee is positioning itself now to come before the Selectmen's Board, hopefully on April the 25th, and kind of present information regarding our stormwater infrastructure, its needs, some of the engineering solutions that we are looking towards in the future to sort of correct to basically correct the infrastructure issues that we have, these issues that have led to the terrible results of our June 2020 storm that flooded out so much of downtown, many homes in our hospitals. So this would be a good opportunity for the committee to come before you and present some detail on the work that they have done to date on the 25th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me go back. Times come and arrives, along with a very few other minutes for the next applicant who was seeking a Hackney license. I'd recommend that we take no action, and if the gentleman is interested, he can refile that application.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Donnelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. I'm sorry, you were done, correct?
I was done, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Donahue, it's been a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you.
I was thinking about the things that I could say. I was fortunate enough to be on the same election cycle as you this last time, the first time for me. And it was a very strange time with COVID and the election being moved. And there was just a lot of new things going on. And I think I felt a relief because you had already done this job for a long time and done it really well.
Thank you.
And so I really appreciate just the even-keeledness that you brought back to the board.
Thank you.
And I think one of the things I'll always remember is that you, more often than anyone else I can think of, always have questions that no one else maybe would have come up with. And I think that reflects on, like Mrs. Colin-Maria was saying, your experience and your dedication to the town, and I think that will be really missed because you have such a unique perspective, and I've really enjoyed spending time with you. And I think what we can do, since you have all this information that we got to make sure we get it down on paper, you and Mr. Mizuko can spend a lot of time in his office, and we can get it all down. But I really do think that we should try to figure out a way to try to record a lot of the things that you've said. And put it down on paper because that's really important for the town's history. You've been such a big part of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lane. Thank you very, very, very much. It's a pleasure to work with you.
Anything else, sir?
Just going to mention I got to spend some time at the senior center, and just wanted to say thank you to Carrie, Ms. McCarthy, and the work that she does there, and all of her volunteers. Just a really nice place to be. So I appreciate that.
I think one other matter of business, just for anyone who's keeping score, we did have listed on our agenda an executive session or a potential executive session, but the purpose for that executive session no longer seems necessary, so we'll just skip over that and take no action on that matter. If I'm incorrect, someone correct me? Very good. So,
Could I do my last?
yes, go right ahead.
Is that okay? This is my last agenda, so I've given some. All right, so first of all, my sincere condolences to Mark Ryan for the loss of his mother, Betty. She was a wonderful, wonderful lady. She was always with her husband, Walter, Mark's father, and then she was always around at the senior center and always friendly and helping out around town. So I'm very sorry, Mr. Mark Ryan, for the loss of your mother. Now, I'm all for democracy, and I'm all for town meeting. It's my sincere belief that town meeting is the most democratic type of government. And open town meeting would be the most, elected town meeting would be second. So what I did was I saw the specimen ballots for this coming election, and in District 1, well, first of all, if you want to be a town meeting member, it's not a hard job to do. Even if you haven't filled out the 10 applications and have your name on the ballot, that's all that you have to do is to get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people to write in your name, your address, but the key thing is filling in the little circle that's on the ballot.
That's your vote.
The circle is the vote. So earlier in the meeting, I mentioned that new committee that's going to be formed, the Master Plan Study Committee. And part of the membership of that committee are 6 town meeting representatives. This is why it would be a great idea to be a town meeting representative. There'll be 3 people that make the appointment: the town moderator, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and I think the chairman of the planning board.
Finance Commission.
No.
Oh, no,
Planning board.
Planning board,
Yes.
yeah. And so those are the 3 people that will be making the appointments. So, in District 1, there are 6 vacancies. There are people already on the ballot, but there are six places that are completely open that a person with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 votes could win. In District 2, there are 3 vacancies. In District 3, there are 6 vacancies. In District 4, there are 6 vacancies. In District 5, there are 15 vacancies. In District 6, there are 2 vacancies. In District 7, there are 5 vacancies. In District 8, there are 5 vacancies. In District 9, there are 5 vacancies. So there are lots of caring people out there who, like a person came, I talked to on the street recently. I just retired. I had a job out of town. I retired and I'm home now. Maybe this is that person's chance. They've always loved the town. They've always lived to the town, moved here 40, 30 years, whatever. This is your chance to get on this, to get some input into that very, very important committee. So I wanted to thank the board again for all of the beautiful comments and all of the beautiful flowers, and even Mr. Mizuko. He looked so handsome, all dressed up tonight
Just
with
reading
his
this
suit,
tonight.
with his shirt and tie. My goodness. We had Student Government Day, and that was mentioned by Miss Grohl earlier in the meeting. Thank you, students, for coming, and thank you, students, for participating. And it's been a pleasure. And I really meant what I said. It's your responsibility. We're all getting old now, and it's your responsibility to help us out, because we need to keep the young people involved in the town. And as mentioned earlier, Monday is the town election, and a lot of people say, oh, I thought it was Tuesday. No, the election is Monday. The polls will be open from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. This is America, this is democracy. Please go out and vote. And the last thing that I have to say is, when Mr. McCarthy interviewed me through Norwood Community Media, which I also thank from the bottom of my heart for all of their help all over the years. Norwood Community Media, thank you. Jack McCarthy said at that interview about the George M. Cohan, and that movie was on Norwood Cable last weekend, and at the end of the movie, James Cagney says the same thing that I'd like to say. My mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my family thanks you. Thank you to the town of Norwood for letting me serve you for these years. You've given me a chance to help out, and it's been one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And I just want to say thank you, voters. Thank you, kind people, for letting me help.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to start with a moment of personal privilege, if I might. I'd like to take a moment to wish my beautiful wife, Kathy, a happy birthday, and for allowing me to celebrate each new year with you. I love you. Thank you kindly, and I hope you're having a great new year. Mr. Lang, it's been a fast past 3 years, moved very quickly. I think you brought new outlook and energy to the board, and I think we've greatly benefited from it, not only as a board, but as a town. I know I personally have profited greatly from the relationship we've had and working with you on the items that have come before the board. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Mrs. Donahue, if I may. It still hasn't really fully sunk into me that this is your last meeting. You know, this is the end of your 21-year career, but it's also pretty much the end of a family dynasty, a family tradition. Your dad served on this board. Your sister Ollie, who was here with us earlier, served on the board. And you've got that 21 years of service. It's been remarkable. And we owe you and your family a lot, the community does. You've always treated people fairly. You've represented the town in admirable fashion in every way, at every event, wherever you've been. Perhaps more than anyone else, as I think Mr. Lane and others pointed out, you've stuck to your guns, to your beliefs. You've been willing to state them and state them strongly, even if you realize that you were in the minority. And that's a great service. That's a great service to the rest of the board because it makes us rethink our own positions. And even though we still may not change our position and agree with you, we're more convinced that we've made the right decision. And that's important for all of us to know that at the end of the day, we feel we did the right thing. And you've really contributed to that greatly with your willingness to be so open and forceful with your own opinions, no matter what they might be. You know, you've as I said before, provided very invaluable service to each of the 14 selectmen you've served with. I think they all would have admit that they benefited greatly from working with you on this board. And you were motivated to do, I believe, what was ever in the best interest of the community. You always thought about the community and what was going to be best. And you defended, you worked hard to preserve the values and traditions that are unique to Norwood. And that was been very important. And, you know, I'm extremely grateful personally for having had this opportunity, but more so for being able to develop a very close personal relationship over these years. And I know the one thing that while your term on the Board of Selectmen may end tonight, those relationships will not. And I thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you, Billy.
And we have a couple of small gifts.
Oh, no.
They're small.
Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, thank you very much. Do you want me to open it?
You can open it at home or you can open it now.
Are you sure?
It's up to you. Let me tell you what this is. This is just a simple collage, if you will, just 3 pictures. Ones we thought might be somewhat important to you to put up on your wall in your office, perhaps, or in the house that you like. One is of the places you've served a lot of time and mean a lot to you. The town gazebo,
Oh,
the town hall,
wow.
and you on the gazebo
Oh.
reading the night before Christmas to all the children
Oh,
waiting for
my
Santa Claus to
goodness.
arrive each year.
Oh, my goodness.
Courtesy of
Do you think they'll
Selectman Lane.
they'll still let me read the night before Christmas?
They might.
At least once a year.
Who do I have to ask? Oh, isn't this something? This is so thoughtful. This is the night before Christmas one.
This is you reading right there, yeah.
Look at that. How about that? How about that? You know, I think I could say it right now. I've done it so many times, you know? Thank you very, very, very much.
Yeah,
This is great.
This is the bigger gift, but we weren't able to get it here tonight, but that will represent to you what we have in store for you.
When I first got on the board, I was worried about pictures in the hallway, you know? And so this is, those of you who have been to my house, you'll see I have them everywhere. And I have a glass cabinet instead of glasses, I have it filled with pictures because they keep me comforted. Thank you. How thoughtful. Oh, no.
So what this is a gift certificate, because we couldn't have the actual item here this evening, for a chair for your office, or again, wherever you choose to put it. That will be engraved with the town seal on it. And just a reminder, so every time you see it, of the years of service and a dedication and thanks that the Board of Selectmen and the town wishes to bestow on you.
Speechless for the first time in my life. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate everything so much. When I graduated from law school, my cousins gave me a chair. I hadn't even passed them out yet, you know, and, but this, from the town of Norwood, when my poor husband Paul retired from the planning board, the town gave him a beautiful, beautiful plaque. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This means the world to me. Mr. Mizuko, chairs are nice. Old chairs are nice.
Old chairs are nice.
Yeah, so remember that.
You're getting a brand new one.
I know, but it's in the old style. It doesn't have wheels on it.
We were gonna give you the one in his office, but it's falling apart.
Just trying to save $1.
We'll put those back in the old ones back in the finance committee.
As soon as we find them.
Did you hear what he said, Mr. Glasgow?
No, I didn't
He
hear
said,
anything.
as soon as we find them.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I
much.
think that concludes the business. If there's no other business, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And seconded by Ms. Grow. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.